filed in County Council be directed to prepare appropriate legislation that will be yours.
Item number 2, 6th District.
Receive, file, and the County Council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
Order.
United Road Bridge Matters. Item number 1, 4th District.
Receive, file, contract in amount not to exceed $3,891.05 be awarded to Kirshenson Construction Company, Inc., the lowest responsive bidder, pending federal concurrence as recommended. A copy of this report be sent to the interest supporters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Ayes have it, motion carries.
Moving on to other communications. Item number 1, 3rd District.
Receive, file, and the County Council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
Order.
Item number 2, 4th District.
Receive, file, and the agreement be approved as recommended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Item number 3, 5th District.
Receive, file, and agreement be approved as recommended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Item number 4, 1st District.
Receive, file, and the license be approved as requested. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Item number 5.
Receive, file, and the County Council be directed to prepare appropriate legislation. Send motion for item number 6, and that will be the order.
Item number 7, 5th District.
Receive and file.
So ordered.
Item number 8.
Receive, file, and the County Council be directed to prepare appropriate legislation. Send motion for item number 14, that will be the order.
Item number 15, 3rd District.
Receive, file, and the County Council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and a copy of this report be sent to the City of Kirkwood.
So ordered.
Item number 16, 4th District.
Receive, file, and the County Council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. And that will be the order. Add-ons, please.
Item number 1.
Receive, file, and the County Council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. Same motion for item number 2, and that will be the order. County Executive?
No report, Mr. Chairman.
No special committee reports today. We're going to move on to the public forum. And kind of some rules of order here, since we have so many people here. All right. I asked to keep the no applauding, because we want to get through. We got 92 speakers. Okay. A lot of speakers. And I just ask you, if you're here and it's just repetitious, or you have a group that you're speaking for, I just ask you that you waive your speaking to that group in charge. It's up to you. I'm leaving it up to you. But we want to kind of do this early and keep this moving, so everybody has an opportunity to voice their opinion regarding whatever you're here for. But technically, under our council charter, we can just limit it to 30 minutes of speaking. But it's not fair to this audience. You've spent your night to come out here. So, under respect to the others, please, I'm going to limit to you. Don't come up. If you have something that's in writing, submit it to Jen. Don't be handing it to the council here, please, just for security reasons. All right?
I'll come down and get it from them, Mr. Chairman.
Pardon me?
I'll come down and get that.
All right, so come down and get it for you, okay? So let's limit it to about a minute. Come up and state your opinion, but don't be coming up here and taking up somebody else's time out of respect for those who showed up this evening here. So we're going to move this thing along. I'm going to call your name. I'm going to call the next person's name. Please be ready. We'll just keep this thing moving right along. And before we start that, Councilman Dolan has a couple of opinions, legal opinions regarding some of the comments that were made last week at this council meeting. So please, out of curiosity, give Mr. Dolan a couple minutes here to clarify.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was obviously a lot of response from everybody, which all the council appreciates. So I would ask the county council if we could clarify just a couple issues. And if you would please tell us how this ordinance impacts the use of public restrooms as one. I've got 3 different points. I'll give you all 3 questions. As far as employment, does this ordinance dictate employment practices outside of St. Louis County government? And as far as the hate crimes bill, has there been any changes in the hate crime ordinance that alter the provision of use of firearms? Those have been pretty much a lot of the questions we've been asked. Our assistants who do a great job have been overloaded with calls this week, so could you expound on that, please?
Yes, sir. The changes to the public accommodation code, which prohibit discrimination on gender identity, sexual orientation, all these other things, does have a specific exception at the end of it, which has always been in there, and it says the foregoing, so all these provisions dealing with discrimination do not apply to practices otherwise discriminatory of bath, health, or toilet facilities when they're based exclusively on gender. So I think that answers your first question. It does not affect employment practices other than our own internal employment practices in St. Louis County, what we do and when we deal with people under the purchasing code. And then for hate crime, we have not touched the provisions dealing with brandishing firearms or carrying guns. Those were always in there. And so now, in addition to not being able to brandish a gun or point one at people because of their race or gender, we are including sexual orientation as one of the categories of hate crime. But it did not touch or make any changes to the provisions about firearms.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Reddington, is there an exception for self-defense? That was, I have gotten a tremendous amount of emails this afternoon relative to somebody's right to protect themselves in their home. Is there an exception in the county code for that? I thought I read in one of the emails that there was. Could you explain that?
This does not address your general right to carry a firearm. This says you can't brandish it or threaten somebody because of their sexuality, for instance. It doesn't have anything to do with the normal common law rules pertaining to self-defense or use of a firearm.
So that wouldn't take precedence over someone's right to self-defense?
That doesn't have anything to do with this.
So it doesn't take precedence? Okay, thank you.
Once again, I will read the first person and then the second person thereafter. Please, as we can in an orderly manner with this many people. Some of these are kind of stuck in the middle there. Let's try to keep this thing moving. So, respect everybody for coming out. All right. First one is going to be Michelle Smith. And then Linda Clark, please.
Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. I thank you for introducing Bill 279. My name is Michelle Smith. I'm a senior project engineer at one of the largest corporations in St. County. I'm a member of the Missouri and Lone Oak Bar. I'm a lesbian or transgender. A cornerstone of equity for the LGBT employees is to have inclusive, non-discrimination, and harassment policies in place. And without federal, state, or municipal protections, corporations have been taking up that charge. My company included, and it's very fortunate. They supported me through my transition from male to female 6 years ago. They continue to recognize the work I do, and they've even promoted me since my transition. However, I know many LGBT people who aren't in this situation and are scared every time they go to the job. I have a transgender friend who's actually fired from their place of employment. This is important because studies show that diverse teams produce better solutions quicker. That surveys show that LGBT employees seek out employers that are friendly to them and shop at employers that are friendly to the LGBT community. Okay. So I encourage you to pass 279.
Thank you. Linda Clark and then Kate Strad.
I passed.
Was that Kate also? No. Thank you. We've got cookies and candies for those that... Are you... You're Kate. Okay. And then Carolyn Corley, please.
Hi, I'm just asking you to vote no, please. I feel like, is it right to pass laws that identify and protect the group of individuals because of what they choose to do in the privacy of their own home? What is the difference between a heterosexual and a homosexual nothing except what they choose to do in their bedroom. How do we know who is gay and who isn't? Why should we base any business decisions based on sexual identity? Are we going to put employees through litmus tests to see what their sexual preference is? I feel this bill is wrong. Employment should be based on work performance, period. Employers should have the right to hire and fire based on evaluations of any employee and their performance. Under the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths self-evident that all men are created equal. We need to make laws that are fair, not to just one group, but thank you.
Carolyn, yeah, please. All we're doing is wasting time by applauding. Right, please. Carolyn Corley and then Deb Pendergast. Is that for Carolyn? What about Deb? And then we got Catherine Holloway and Joanne Reich.
Last week, you heard from several citizens that put everything aside on a short notice to address this council with our opposition to Bill 279, including myself, because I find the idea to impose the lascivious sexual practice under legal protective status to be absurd and a reckless to civilized society. Understanding that the definition of civilized is polite, well-read, refined, and learning against ignorance. John Adams stated, our second president, stated October 11, 1798, we have no government armed with power capable of contending with human passions unbridled by morality and religion. Avarice, ambition, revenge, or gallantry would break the strongest cords of our Constitution. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and a religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Liberty was never intended to establish a sexual free-for-all. Those individuals who argue to get out of their bedroom are okay with exposing and imposing a behavior by a force of mandate that's acceptable to public conduct. Religious views, on the other hand, have been taken out of the equation. Christians have been accused of being the intolerant ones for expressing a biblical worldview. Religious etiquette has been considered remaining in the designated areas and keeping our beliefs personal. But politics and religion, politics create policy, and religion determines where you spend eternity. And on August 7th, Missouri voters to 82.7% voted to reaffirm our First Amendment rights to the freedom of religious expression.
Catherine, thank you.
Well, I just want to say, as a parent, that our guidelines are to preserve and protect the future of our children and shape them into caring citizens. And you don't make it easy to do what you don't want someone to do that is going to derail their lives. And I ask you to do the same thing and not voting for Bill 279.
Please don't. Please do not. I don't want to have to ask you to leave.
Joanne Reich and Stephanie Rabbi.
And it's Raish.
I had a neighbor with the same name, they pronounced it Rao.
No, it's a different one.
Please, people, I'm telling you, 1 minute, or I'm going to bring this back to 30 minutes. If you think you just keep running on and on, I'm going to limit it to 30 minutes. So please keep your comments to 1 minute. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay. To members of the St. Louis County Council, upon hearing of Bill 279, I wondered if God had died and we were not informed. Having taken it upon yourself to attempt to pass such legislation, I further wondered if the Ten Commandments were also canceled. This piece of legislation will only feed the coffers of attorneys. There are many individuals in the hairstyling profession and in the theater whom I know through personal contact, whom you claim you want to protect. Yet these individuals have not suffered any repercussions in my experience. If you are following the example of others who believe in the nanny state, I call attention to the fact that most of us are responsible, sensible human beings who object to every aspect of our lives being regulated by an aggressive, over-regulating government? Are you attempting to make secular humanism the state religion and thus canceling all the Christians and Jews, etc.?
Wrap it up, Glenn.
I am. Just 2 more sentences. What would Jesus do? He said, love one another as I have loved you. Weren't you listening? Will your next outrageous command be about hand signals? If this legislation had been brought to light via the print or broadcast media, you would not be able to fill this room. As someone who knows and lives in South County, I ask you to respect our wishes and vote no on 279. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Rabach and then Christopher Clegg and Shelley Clegg. Stephanie?
I can.
Christopher and Shelley?
Shelley passes.
And then thereafter, John Bailiff.
Members of the County Council, disabled people, people of race or ethnic backgrounds, are all classes of people. A personal characteristic is not, will not, or ever can be considered a class of people. This is a chosen lifestyle. It would be terrible public policy if it were treated as such. I give a good example of Macy's department store enacting their law saying that transgenders can use the ladies' dressing rooms. Macy's, in so doing, enacted their own freedom as a store policy. And this is the way freedom is supposed to work in businesses and companies. Okay? So I ask, where is the proof that they are being discriminated against? Why do we need another law? When will we live in such a welcoming community? There is no need for this ordinance. And finally, I ask, if you so decide that you would be leaning towards the passing of this ordinance, I ask that you would at least consider appointing a task force to see if we even need this. Please.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you.
John Bailiff and then Kate Stratton. John?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I went up before you. I just want to ask you to consider there's a certain cities that were destroyed in Sodom and Gomorrah because of behavior. Now, I want to add that God loves everyone, and I certainly want to love everyone. But we're talking about behavior. Now, we as African Americans or whatever race that you might be, you were born that way. We're talking about behavior. Behavior that every man and every woman has control over. An adulterer has control over that behavior. You choose to be an adulterer. Someone who commits bestiality has control over themselves. They choose to do it, or they choose not to. The same thing in this case. This is an act of homosexuality or bisexuality. They behave in a certain way because they choose to do so. And I ask you today, do not make a law. Do not make a law that condones behavior that is controllable. If that's the case, then we should also make laws to protect those who commit bestiality if they want to marry their dog or their cat. What is next? Last year, and I'm getting ready to sit down, I witnessed what happens on a gay parade in St. Louis. I witnessed what happens, the debauchery that comes down our streets in front of our children and in front of our community. It is disgrace that St. Louis does this. I hope St. Louis County does not do the same. We must make a stand for what's right and what's holy in this land.
Thank you.
Robert Cohn, after Kate Stratton. Pardon me?
Kate is not going to speak, sir.
Thank you. And then Henry Torres, after Robert.
Honorable St. Louis County Executive and honorable members of the St. Louis County Council, my name is Robert A. Cohn. I'm an attorney and editor-in-chief of the St. Louis Jewish Light, a local Jewish community newspaper. I appear this evening in my capacity as chair of the St. Louis County Human Relations Commission, 7-member panel of county citizens who are appointed by the county executive, confirmed by the county council, charged with the responsibility of receiving complaints and enforcing the various provisions of the St. Louis County Human Relations Code relating to discrimination by housing contractors in connection with housing or public accommodations or county employment and banning hate crimes. This evening I appear to strongly support Bill 279 and urge that it be given final passage this evening. This would add to the protected categories covered by our ordinance banning discrimination based on race, creed, color, national origin, or disability, the categories of sexual orientation or gender identity, covering and pertaining to discrimination by county contractors in connection with housing, public accommodations, county employment, and protection against hate crimes. We are grateful to the members of the St. Louis County Council, Councilwoman Kathleen Burkett, Councilman Pat Dolan, who co-sponsored this ordinance, the majority of the members who have indicated support for its passage. And we strongly urge its passage this evening.
It's over a minute.
Thank you very much for your consideration.
Please keep your comments.
Okay, please do not clap. If I see you clapping, I'm going to ask you to leave. Thank you.
Henry Torres and then Marilyn Torres.
Thank you. This will be 1 minute, I assure you. I agree with everybody except the last man. He's dead wrong. But I want to bring to your attention what the Bible says in Psalms. It says, to the wicked, God says, when you saw a thief, you consented to him. That establishes the principle that when you see a murderer, a fornicator, anybody like that, and you would agree to that and said, when he looks at you, said, you are that person. So, if you vote to sanction and endorse men and women having sex with animals, you are a pervert. If you sanction all kinds of goodness, making men and women go on parades, doing good things, then you are immoral in God's sight. I can go on, but let me stop. If you vote and you know God's rules and you consent to all this behavior, which is terrible, filthy, wicked, then in God's sight, you are terrible, filthy, and wicked. That's God. That's the word of God. I urge you, don't vote wickedly, vote justly.
Thank you, Henry. Marilyn and then Michael Meyer.
All right, I'm here to oppose the passing of this proposal. As a Christian, and according to the Bible, the Word of God says this lifestyle is wrong. The Bible teaches that if you live according to His commandments, blessings will follow. But if you do not live according to His laws, curses will be placed upon you and your country and your county. I do not want to have these curses placed upon my country or on my own personal life. I urge you, I plead with you, Board of Supervisors, do not open the floodgates of depravity into St. Louis County, nor invite hordes of wicked and morally depraved people here. Do not do this to the men, women, and children of St. Louis County. Do not bring a curse upon us.
Thank you, Marilyn. Michael Meyer.
I'm going to pass.
Langfield.
I'm going to pass.
Is that Michael?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Jake Linesfield and then the Reverend Stephen, I can't read the last name.
It's an Irish name, sir.
Kavanaugh. Is that it?
Kakudas.
Pardon me?
Kakudas.
Michael Meyer.
Hi, my name is Jake Linefield from Baldwin, and I'm currently a student at Washington University in St. Louis, and I also regularly attend church in St. Louis County. This is, for me and for so many of my friends and family, a place we call home. When I was in middle school, I spent some time questioning my sexual orientation. It was a harrowing experience, not because it should have been, but rather because I was told repeatedly by some of my peers and by some adults that being anything other than heterosexual was a bad thing. This community, this home, felt unsafe to me. It took a little bit more growing up for me to understand that this home, my home, is unsafe, regardless of whether I myself feel as such. I am a heterosexual. I cannot be fired for who I am. I cannot be denied housing or other public accommodations based on who I love. But many of my friends who live here can be. Some members of my congregation, some people that I consider family, live with uncertainty in this home, with the fear that they may someday lose what they've built because of a flaw in our foundation. I implore the council to help make this home a little sturdier. This place can lift us all. We just have to be willing to re-examine the rickety, well-worn parts that suggest otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Reverend, and then Jay Richard Coe.
1 minute to a preacher? I oppose 279, please, if you'll hear me, because I think in one form or another this is affirmative action. I think its ultimate purpose is to chip away at our state's prohibitions against gay marriage. It will lead to that. And then one more thing, the expression or term, phrase, sexual orientation is mindless and meaningless. Sexual orientation in Holland and in Europe, where I preached for a number of years, even includes pedophilia. And then finally, this 279 is in the long run an attack on business. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Jay Richard Coe, and then Pat Knox.
Thank you. 1951, I enlisted in the Air Force and became security service, Russian linguist at the Air Force, studied at Syracuse University. I was sent over to Germany and lived there, served there, copying Russian pilots as they traversed the East Zone and watching what happened in Germany. I got a close-up look at what collectivism is. I know the Holocaust from first account. I know what happened there. I know what happened in Soviet Russia. I was taught by white Russians. You're looking at the face of collectivism there. When I came back, I got a degree in journalism. I put that together, and I can see now that what we have in this country is perception management. We don't have accurate news. We don't have truth in the news. What you're doing here is taking a step into perception, perceived harm by someone. You can't really do that. How do you do that? Is that a minute?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Pat Knox, and then Jerry Moss.
I have a letter that I want to read on behalf of Speaker of the Missouri House of Representatives Tim Jones, but because of time, I'm only going to read portions of it, but I have copies that I will pass out. Dear honorable members of the council, as you consider Bill 279, I urge you to contemplate the unknown potential of this piece of legislation has to cause to our small business community. Our goal as a state is to avoid and remove these overly burdensome laws so that Missouri employees are free to make their own decisions about how their business is run. With your vote on Bill 279, I hope you will take this into consideration and keep in mind that Missouri voters have spoken loudly and clearly on the issue of their religious freedoms. Missourians do not want to be forced into making decisions that violate their own religious beliefs, nor do they want business owners to be placed in situations that compromise their moral or religious convictions. Bill 279 clearly has the potential to allow the government to force business owners into violating their own belief system in order to stay in operation. I urge you to vote no on Bill 279.
Thank you. On behalf of the Speaker, Tim Jones. Jeremy Moss, and then Teresa Douglas.
I'll keep mine brief because I too have been an elected official and I also have responsibilities. But I do have a question. The others have spoke for some of my opinions, but going back to the lawyer situation, our church sometimes is a disaster relief center, and it has to be open 24 hours, and for safety reasons, we try to use people that have a common things run into is the question of the firearms. And I agree with everything else being said about the moral issues, and as a teacher, I think that's very important. Thank you very much.
Jerry, if you have a question and you need another answer other than what we've given you today, if you want to submit it, then somebody will send you an answer regarding that question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Teresa Douglas and then Lisa Panett.
Thank you for allowing me to speak before the County Council. I appreciate you willing to listen to all of our arguments today. The reason that I'm here is I believe that this is an affront on Christianity, that in a way it almost is discrimination against our Christian beliefs. So in your trying to eliminate discrimination, you're actually causing additional discrimination in another way. You're not going to be able to have it both ways. We don't need more laws. The additional part of it is when we're looking at small businesses. I've run small businesses. When I would hire people, I wanted them to represent my company and my beliefs. With passing this bill, you would force people to hire individuals that they may not necessarily want to be their representatives for their company. And so I, again, ask you to consider saying a no on this bill.
Thank you, Teresa. Lisa Panett and then Tony Grasso.
I want to first say thanks to the County Council for waking the sleeping giant, the church, with the ludicrous things that you're bringing up here. And second of all, the next question to you guys is, will you respond to the church? That's my next question. And Mr. Singer, you are my councilman, and I know how your district feels. And you have run on a moderate platform, and this is not moderate. And so just know that I will make it my personal mission that everyone knows that if you vote for this, that they will know that you're for
Address the council.
Lisa.
Lisa.
Yes, that you will.
Lisa, address the council, not individuals.
Okay, but he's my councilman.
I understand it. Okay?
Okay, but that will be the personal mission to make it known to every single voter that this is what you have to choose a path. You have to choose a road. So.
Thank you. Tony, and then Beverly West.
West Score.
Thank you. Tony here?
Good evening. My name is Tony Grasso. I'm an attorney. I don't practice law. I have an advanced law degree in taxation, and I didn't get the memo. My talk, my 60 seconds, limited to a matter that concerns every taxing jurisdiction, every citizen in every one of your districts. Channel 4 here to report November 15th of last year called Tax Scams of the Super Rich. I provided the concept and some of the content. That report won an Emmy Award. On November 8th, the Call newspaper reported that the Revenue Department anticipates a slight shortfall in real estate tax revenue this fiscal year. I have a solution to that. It starts with Grants Farm Manor. That'll be up on your docket for rezoning, I presume, shortly. That property's been sold twice in the last several years. It's been owned by an Indiana nursing home and a bank from Rhode Island that foreclosed on it. It sold for $20 million, more recently for $6 million. It was zoned MXD. It was still classified as agricultural during the nursing home ownership. The front 15 acres of Grants Farm Manor, on the frontage on Graveway, across from the Civil War fence at Grants Farm, front 15 acres, $3 an acre. $3 an acre they pay in real estate tax on that. It was sold for $250,000 and $80,000 an acre. It needs to be properly reclassified, retroactive application under the case of Beatty versus State Tax Commission. Some of you are familiar with that.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Beverly, and then Bev. I know you were here last week. I probably mispronounced it last week too. Beverly?
Supervisor Dooley and ladies and gentlemen of the council. With all due respect, I ask this question.
any of you considered the repercussions or consequences of passing Bill 279? You are sliding down a very slippery slope. For example, under sexual orientation, it can be considered that a sex offender would be a protected class of citizen. Do you want to allow a sex offender this privilege? Are you going to force an employer or a landlord to hire or rent to this protected class citizen? Are you trying to tell us that we do not have any First Amendment rights in being able to speak our mind because we could be prosecuted and jailed for bigotry and racial or sexual discrimination?
Beverly, wrap it up, please.
Are you telling us that 7 people on this council can force the million citizens of St. Louis County to refrain from peaceably speaking our minds or hiring whom we please in a company that we built? If this is a free country, the people should be able to vote on this issue.
Beverly, thank you. Bev, and then Deborah Cole.
Members of the council, local government was instituted to protect life, liberty, and property. And for the first 200 or so years of our country's history, our statutes, federal, state, and local statutes pretty much align themselves with God's eternal law. And things were better. I'm 58 years old. I have lived a different life. There was one pregnancy in my high school. Now, 40% of the children are being born to single parent, to a single mother. 25% of the teenagers have either STI or STD. The dropout rate in the prison population can be directly correlated to non-married mom and dad homes. Everybody understands that a married mom and dad is the best environment for a child to grow up to be a successful citizen. But we decided 40, 50 years ago that we were smarter than God, and our statutes were starting to be changed little by little and bit by bit, and this is another part of that picture. Do we want to continue to go down this road to destruction, or do we want to go back and fix those things that we allowed to go wrong in the first place? Thank you.
Thank you, Bev. Deborah Cole, and then Pat Walker.
My name is Deborah Cole, and I brought a letter from my state senator, Brian Nieves, of the 26th District of Missouri. In the essence of time, I'll only read the first paragraph. St. Louis County Council members, I am writing to formally state my opposition to Bill number 279, which would, among other provisions, add sexual orientation and gender identity as a protected class in St. Louis County with regards to hiring, housing, and business matters. In the Missouri Senate, I stand firm and oppose measures that would cause harm to our state's businesses by forcing Missourians to provide services that violate their moral or religious beliefs. Bill 279 would implement damage to the good people and businesses in our area. Therefore, I contest this issue. I'd be happy to respond.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you on behalf of the senator. Walker, and then Marilyn Guile or Giel?
Thank you for, my name is Pat Walker, and I thank you for giving all of us an opportunity to speak. I'd just like to appeal to all of your senses. For society to function, it takes basic moral precepts and foundations. And if we don't have those, society will fall apart. We can identify race, creed, and origins, and they're factual. Sexual orientation is not one of these, all right? It's appearances. It's different in that respect. You're forcing a law on people that, again, takes away and forces us to not follow our basic moral precepts. People can come and argue and say, well, but this is also normal. I will appeal to your senses. If indeed homosexuality and transgender is normal and everybody practiced it, okay, and I'm not denying, but if everybody practiced it, in about 2.5 to 3 generations, the human race would cease to exist. Therefore, that's not considered normal. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Marilyn. And then James Mack.
Members of the St. Louis County Council, I recommend for the sake of our community, if you vote no on bill number 279. If this bill were brought up to a public vote, I believe it would be voted down by a huge majority. I agree that no one should be discriminated against. However, the issue here is trying to make the homosexual gay community a protected class, which it should not be, because actually it is a bad behavior problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. James Mack, and then Stan Bowen or Bauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Council members. My name is James Mack, and I am here representing myself and my wife and my son, who's out in the audience, and my oldest daughter, who were registered voters and were represented by Councilman Dolan from the municipality of Glendale. And we ask that all members of the council vote no on bill number 279. The terms of the bill, in particular section 717, which describes sexual orientation being real or perceived heterosexuality, homosexuality, or bisexuality, is just too ambiguous, members of the council. We do not need legal meaning of this legislation to be subjectively decided by state or county judges. Thank you, council.
Thank you, James. Stan, and then David Usher.
Two thoughts.
Is it Bauer or Bowen?
Bauer, B-O-W-E-R. Good evening, thank you so much. One for my wife initially. In a few years, there develops a gathering of men like that sex with the sheep. And they come before you and say, of course, they want you to legislate in favor of this, and use legally binding and pass it. So you may do that. Then who determines what is right and what is wrong? You or this historical God I serve? You can rule in favor of this relationship, the man and the sheep, and suddenly becomes legal, but it doesn't become righteous. I know it sounds ridiculous, but even a few years ago, many thought it was ridiculous to legislate same-sex marriage. Thought number two, rebellion causes people to be blind to the cause and effect of what God does. Historically, God told the Hebrews they were experiencing calamity because of their sin. But people reasoned the opposite. They actually worshiped the Queen of Heaven and prospered. Today we worship money, power, and prestige. The people said Jeremiah could not argue that the ruin was the product of apostasy. Our apostasy will also be our own ruin. The stubborn refusal to look at the facts is a malady that affects every generation. The bottom line being that when you all vote tonight, you are voting your own personal conviction as to what is right or wrong. It is your vote, not mine, that will set the stage for a moral acceptance. You're choosing today whom you serve. The record will show it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. David Usher and then Stephanie Rabat.
Good evening. My name is David Usher, President of the Center for Marriage Policy here in St. Louis. I'm going to speak to the scientific and probative issues. This legislation revolves around sexual behavior, and we all know that's the case. The problem is, what does this sexual behavior cost the county presently, and what's it going to cost after we set a precedent in St. Louis County that tells every citizen of St. Louis County that it's okay and even preferable to practice different kinds of sexual behaviors. The fiscal tab of St. Louis County is going to be very high. It's already high right now, but nobody's looked at it. Here's an example. Gay men have between 4 and 100 times more sex partners than heterosexual men. Their HIV is the number 10 cause of death for black males. There are 1.2 million individuals infected with HIV, and 20% of them don't even know they have it. About 60% of gays and lesbians are bisexual. 84.9% of women are infected through heterosexual contact. So there's going to be a big fiscal tab by expanding this kind of behavior. So my recommendation, to cut to the chase here, is that it'd be very unwise to enact this bill until we do a cost study, a fiscal tab study, to calculate or find out what the costs are for HIV and other social poverty, emotional problems that the county is currently paying for, and how much is that going to grow. So
David, thank you.
We should defer the vote until pending the study is done. Thank you very much.
Stephanie? and then Lee Hauser.
To the members of the Common Council, just thank you for letting me express my views on this bill. I'm one of 10 children who were raised by parents who taught us we are all part of the American dream. We're taught the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal." Unfortunately, this bill determines that sexual orientation and gender identity should be singled out as a special group, and that is wrong. Sexual orientation or gender identity definitely does not meet the objective criteria that determines if one should be in a protected class, such as being politically disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged, or as myself, born black. We currently have laws that deal with discrimination of any kind, and those laws should be enforced. As a nurse and a mother of 3 teens, I battle our culture that is sending mixed messages to our kids. Human beings are meant to behave themselves in a certain way. When we violate the standards set by natural law, or when our own laws are in conflict with natural law, hard consequences wait. So we have real issues that county government should focus on, such as bringing new businesses and jobs to the county, better education for our children, and improving the economic health of the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Lee Hauser and then Pastor Morgan.
Good evening, council members. My name is Lee Hauser. I serve as an Olivet City Council person. About a year and a half ago, our municipal council unanimously passed both a domestic partner registry and text revisions to an existing anti-discrimination ordinance to include protections for members of the LGBT community. I speak to you this evening in support of passing Bill 279. My appeal to you is simple but very direct. Each of you has a choice tonight between 2 diametrically opposed yeses. With your vote, you can tell the residents of St. Louis County, your constituents, either yes, I support equality in the eyes of the law for all of you, or yes, I support continued discrimination against certain of you. Please use your vote to materially support and protect your constituents in matters of workplace, housing, and public accommodation equality. Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Morgan and Nancy Cross.
I'm Pastor Charles Morgan. Bishop R.J. Ward is my bishop. Bishop Lawrence Wooten is our general board bishop, and Bishop Charles Blake is our senior bishop. There is a large population in St. Louis County whose faith is grounded in the love for humanity that is rooted in more than 4 millennia of Judeo-Christian theology. As a member of that population, I want to ask you to refuse to adulterate and contaminate a current righteous law that currently protects the civil rights of all St. Louis County citizens by inserting language into it that seeks to equate homosexual lifestyle choices, labeled sexual orientation and gender identity, with heterosexuality. While the passage of Bill number 279 will certainly satisfy a very strong, vocal, politically savvy population in St. Louis County, I have no evidence that it reflects the will of the larger majority of the St. Louis County residents. I would petition you to please vote no. God bless you.
Nancy Cross and then Alan Easton. Nancy here. Alan.
I've been a resident of Maryland Heights for 27 years. I'm a member of the Ethical Society of St. Louis, which is a humanist congregation. I'm here in support of the Bill 279 because for the simple reason I do not think employers should choose employees and promote them based on a characteristic that has nothing to do with getting the job done. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Whalen and then Stephanie James.
Thank you, Council. My name is Cheryl Whalen. I'm an 18-year resident of Crestwood, and I'm also the Executive Director of SAGE Metro St. Louis. SAGE stands for Services Advocacy for Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, and Transgender Elders. We estimate in the County of St. Louis that we have upwards of 20,000 older adults who identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. I can tell you today that many of these older adults in our community live in fear. They live in fear of what will happen to them if they have to become dependent on a care system that doesn't recognize their families and that doesn't support them as gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender individuals. We have a choice before us. Do we make St. Louis County the next county in Missouri who fully supports and recognizes equality for all and not some? And so I ask that you support Bill 279 today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cheryl. Stephanie James and David Whistler.
Thank you, Council. My name is Stephanie James. I'm a voting resident of St. Louis County, and I was born transgender. I'm requesting your support on this bill because I've been the object of employment and discrimination. 2 weeks before my gender reassignment surgery, I was terminated, lost my corporate position with a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar corporation headquartered here in Clayton. I have not been able to find work since. I've exhausted my savings, my program, my unemployment, and I've been on food stamps. I lost my home due to foreclosure. Now, my story is not unique. This should not happen to one more person. Cannot help that I was born transgender. Nobody would choose this lifestyle. This is something worth working. My alternatives were to pursue life and become the person I was inside, or to go away forever. And I ask your support for this bill. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephanie James. Dave Whistler and Kathy Armbruster.
My name is Dave Whistler. I'm here to speak for myself. I'm opposed to Bill 279 simply because, in my opinion, the definition of this so-called sexual deviation is a addiction. Instead of passing a law that encourages the addiction of sexual deviation, you need actually to help them and encourage them to get help for their addiction. I know firsthand what it is to live with an addiction. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and to the grace of God, in His graciousness, He delivered me from my addiction some 36 years ago. I would like to personally invite you all of you people, to a refresher course in just who is in charge of this world and universe, and I assure you it is not you. Here is the invitations from the Grabois Township of St. Louis County to join them in viewing the free screening of the Isaiah Judgment at Crestwood City Hall this coming weekend. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Dave. Kathy Armbruster.
Sir.
Thank you.
I know everybody gets a little excited when they get to the microphone and want to deliver some stuff. But if you have something, once again, just
you can come too if you want.
Get it. Thank you. After Kathy, Mimi McDonough.
Thank you for letting me speak tonight. Kathy Armbruster from Old Lake, and that is the 6th district. And I urge the council to vote no on Bill 279. The citizens that I've been talking to don't want it, and I like to say vote with your district and not against your district.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Mimi, and then Bill Hannigan.
spend their money at the numerous businesses that have no problem with their lifestyle choices. The phone book is full of them. It is, however, discrimination against those who attempt to run their businesses according to their beliefs. They are employers who pay taxes. They become an unprotected class. Therefore, I request that you oppose Bill 279 or include a freedom of conscience clause for anyone who opposes this bill. Thank you very much.
Give me Bill Hannigan and Pat Brennan.
I would like to encourage the council not to pass Bill 279 unless it includes a freedom of conscience opt-out for conservative Christian rental property owners, banquet hall owners, bakers, printers, calligraphers, sign painters, and other artists who would be involved in the wedding industry. I think it's only fair to them to not put them in a morally difficult situation. There are plenty of tradespeople available to do the work involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Pat Brennan and Reverend Krista Taylor.
My name's Pat Brennan, and I oppose this bill. There's been a lot of talk, and I'm not going to do my talk. It's probably longer than I'll get, but equal rights is what we have. We can't set up a structure of law that says these people get special rights, and everybody agrees with that. There's a large body of people here opposing this. There's people outside wanting in and can't get in. I think that we should all go home and celebrate the holidays of Christ's birth and come back and let's have more conversation about this. It's not something we should push through. I think it would be respectful to the body and you guys as our representative. Don't ask, don't tell was perfect. You know, it's like a previous speaker spoke about. You know, it's a bedroom issue. It's not a public issue. Hate crimes. What are love crimes? I mean, a crime is a crime. Once we start trying to dissect this and get a super analytical idea about what a specific crime involves, but so I am opposed to this, and thank you for your time.
And thank you, Reverend Krista Davis, and then Allison Tyler.
My name is Reverend Krista Tate, and I'm here on behalf of Emerson Unitarian Universalist Chapel, a church that is intentionally inclusive of those who identify as sexual and gender minorities. This is an extension of our faith and our commitment to justice and truth. My life partner and I are also homeowners and taxpayers in St. Louis County, and we started a family business in Baldwin. We have heard many fear-based assumptions tonight from those opposed to Bill 279. And this is an example of what sexual and gender minorities face here every day. We face this prejudice at any time, and it's especially dangerous when it has the force of law behind it. And that is why I am so thankful for Bill 279. This bill is no threat to religious freedom because we have the separation of church and state in this country. This bill is no threat to families. This bill is no threat to families. It will support our families. The biggest threat to families is economic insecurity. And when a breadwinner loses her job or is denied housing because of that, you're hurting not only them but their families. Thank you for supporting a bill that supports the sacred values of fairness and justice to equal protection under the law. Thank you.
Allison Highland and Pastor Nathan.
Executive Dooley, Chair O'Mara, members of the council. I am a wife, a mother, a Sunday school teacher, a youth group leader, and a concerned St. Louis County resident. I'm also the executive director of the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Partnership, and I have been certified as a human sexuality educator for the past 30 years. I come before you tonight to suggest it is immoral to discriminate against people for the way God created them. Because I was born with the gender identity of a female and attracted to men, I should not be discriminated against. Those with different identities and attractions also should not be discriminated against. These are not lifestyle choices. These are fundamental parts of who we all are. I grew up in a small town and clearly remember the second grade when Susan Dantzler said she wanted to grow up and be in roller derby, and John Poston said he wanted to play with Barbie. We teased Susan and John because no one had ever explained to us there could be differences. Because those differences had not been explained to us did not mean those differences did not exist even at that young age. Susan and John did not deserve to be teased then, and they do not deserve to be discriminated against today in terms of where they live and where they work. I would like to thank the council for proposing Bill 279, and I urge you to make me a proud St. Louis County resident and pass it tonight.
Pastor Jenkins and then Tom Lozetta, or Tam, I'm sorry, Tam.
Thank you for having me down here, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pastor Pat Rankin. I'm the senior pastor of a church called Bible Travel in St. Louis County. I come under the authority of Jesus Christ before you today, reading out of Genesis chapter 2, verses 24 and 25, where it says, "This is why a man leaves his father and mother and bonds with his wife, and they become one flesh. Both the man and his wife are naked, and yet they felt no shame." Tonight there's been a lot of talk about family. And I just want to let you know, outside of the covenant between a man and a woman, according to God's word, is an abomination. And I come before you tonight and let you know, as a Christian, I oppose Bill 279 and ask that you would do the same. Thank you. God bless you.
Who would Jesus discriminate against?
Senator, the next one after this would be Senator Lumpke.
Yes, I've come here to speak against Bill number 279. I would like to get a list after this vote is taken of all those who have voted for it, and also the person who sponsored this, because I will make every effort that I can to get this into the hands of voters for the next election, so that we can make an informed decision as to who to kick off the board of this board. Now, I don't think that much thought has been given to the unintended consequences of this bill. It is going to be a feeding frenzy for lawyers. It will cost businesses, it will cost communities who will have to go to court to contest some of these unintended consequences. And I don't think anybody on this board has really given a lot of thought to that. And I would just, again, urge the board to start using some common sense. I know it may be a very limited capacity to do so, but I will ask you, please, to start thinking about the unintended consequences. And for anybody who is wavering, thinking that this is a good idea, just take a look at some of the YouTube videos of the gay pride festivals that have been held in San Francisco, and then remember those who vote for this bill after you watch those YouTube videos.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Senator Lumpke, and then Joe Haberberger.
Thank you. Executive Dooley, Mr. Chairman, members, I appreciate the opportunity to address you this evening. I would ask humbly that you would consider, as you look and consider Bill 279, Section 718, which deals with this specific language, deals with public accommodation and sale of commodities. And I would argue that this is in direct conflict with our Missouri State Constitution, Article 1, Section 5, which addresses liberty of conscience. And let me just share with you that all men have a natural and indefensible right to worship Almighty God according to the dictates of their conscience, that no human authority can control or interfere with the right of conscience. It's been mentioned by a couple of the previous speakers that this bill, without an exception for right of conscience, is definitely unconstitutional and will be challenged. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Mary Ann Haberberger, did you want to speak? And then Dr. Michael Peters.
Thank you for letting me speak. to start this up. So I think I want to start with Proverbs 14:12. It says, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death." This council has the authority and the power to follow God's plan or the way of the world. If you choose the way of the world and vote for Bill 279, we may not be able to defeat you in the next election. However, we will try. But eternity is coming, and you will have to answer to God. Choose where you want to live for eternity, God's way or the world's way. Psalm 96:13. For he is coming to judge the earth. He shall judge the world with righteousness and the people with his truth. I thank you, and I ask you to vote no on Bill 279. God bless you all.
Thank you, Dr. Michael Peters, and then Jerry Hart.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you. I'm Michael Peters. I pastor Christ the King Church in Webster Grove, and I'm here on behalf of the church. I've been looking at the section under exemption on page 5 on Bill 279. And I could be reading it wrong, but if I could summarize it the way I understand it, is that a church that would not, say, for example, rent its facility for a gay wedding is okay if it limits its use to its members, which of course is fine. However, if you rent outside of your membership, then of course this bill would take effect and would require that church to open, say for example, to a gay wedding, which would violate our conscience. This puts us in a position where we would be in conflict because we are rented by a group outside of us. It's the County Board of Election, and they pay us all $150 to rent our facility, and thousands of people come through there. But if this bill is passed, then it's going to put us in a conscience conflict of being able to, for our building to be used as a polling place, if that's going to require us to open it up for things that would be contrary to our beliefs. And so because of the unintended consequence, I certainly would ask you to reconsider this and find a way to get that clarified and put voting off on this bill. Also, I would also like to say that I'm not for prejudice against anyone. I don't think, though, there's a scientific basis to categorize gay or lesbian lifestyle as an unchangeable inherent orientation. There's, to date, to my knowledge, been no scientific proof. I don't know what the basis is of your beliefs, but I would ask you to reconsider it on that basis, unless you know some science. If you're not going to base it on religious faith, why would you pass this bill? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Peters. So Jerry Hart and then Luke Rolfing.
Thank you, folks. I'm a sinner saved by grace. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And thank God that He set me free in areas of my life that I was captive to. Now that said, I'm going to use a simple analogy for what I see taking place. I'm a thief. I love to steal things. I was born this way, and it's my propensity to steal. So I'd like you all to give me your car keys. If you don't, then you're a hater, and you don't love me. Folks, that's a simple analogy. I've used it often. But when we take what doesn't belong to us, we know it's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Luke Rolfing and Gail Wexler.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My personal belief, I believe that people should be able to do whatever they want as long as it does not harm anyone. And I think that people should, I don't have a problem with people if they are homosexual or anything. I think that's their personal opinion, but I don't think you should be forcing business owners to, they should be able to discriminate the way they please. It's their own personal business. They should be able to run it the way they want. So I urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Gail Wexler and then Emily Williams.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm speaking on behalf of Bill 279. I'm a former employment discrimination lawyer, and during my judicial practice, I had to tell several potential clients who worked in St. Louis County who had been treated adversely because of their sexual orientation that they did not have a claim. I told them if they lived or worked in St. Louis City, they would have a claim. It troubled me that the only thing preventing these people from being discriminated against for reasons unrelated to their work performance employer. Arguments have been made that requiring employers not to discriminate based on sexual orientation create an extra burden on businesses. The same arguments were made before civil rights laws were passed, requiring employers not to discriminate based on race, religion, gender, religion, and disability. So I ask you to reject that, do the right thing, and please vote yes on 279. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Emily Williams and Reverend Hendrick.
Good evening, members, and thank you for allowing me to come and speak. I really have no new insight other than the ones that you've already heard, but I did not want to pass without letting you know that I'm in hoping that you will vote against this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Reverend Hendrick and then Brian Westbrook.
Harold Hendrick, the Bond Radio Network, and Hendrick Ministries. I appreciate the appropriate protections for those immutable, unchangeable aspects of race, physical difficulty, and age. However, the issue that's been discussed today is receiving a special treatment of favor in relation to a lifestyle that is a choice. That opens Pandora's box in relation to it being a discrimination against every other lifestyle that has selected choices that are not included. Dozens of them. Please consider that. When we wonder where this might go, I'm reading from the Post Dispatch, a few sentences a week ago Monday. This is not what might happen, it's what's happened incrementally in San Francisco. The article is entitled, San Francisco Officials Stirs Debate with Proposal to Ban Public Nudity. Exemptions allowing nudity would be made for participants at participated street fairs and parades, such as the city's annual Gay Pride event and the Folsom Street Fair, which celebrates sadomasochism and other sexual subcultures. Naked men would gather in a small Castro plaza most days and sometimes walk the streets naked. The proposal in San Francisco, the ban, predictably has produced outrage as well as a lawsuit. In closing, last week, about 24 people disrobed, got naked in front of City Hall and marched around the block. Now, this is not what might happen, it's where incrementally it went in a surprising way in San Francisco. I don't think we want to go that direction, so we're concerned. We want fairness, but not bias. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Brian Westbrook, and then Carol Buzetta.
Hello, my name is Brian Westbrook, and I'm a resident of St. Louis County, up in North County, District 4. And I'm asking you to oppose this bill. I'm an employer of 2 employees now, and I hope to hire 4 more employees here in the near future as just a growing organization. And I'm concerned about the legal ramifications on myself as an employer if I want to employ and create economic growth here in our community. I don't have the resources as an organization owner to fight some of these legal battles that might come out from this bill. So I ask you to oppose that, just in knowing that it may cause quite a lot of work for our judges, that they've got plenty of other work already to do. All right, God bless.
Thank you, Brian. Carol Buzetta, and then Michael Riker. Riker or Riker? Riker.
Members of the council, thank you for letting me speak. Fact. Earlier this year, Evergreen State College in Washington, a 45-year-old male student who dressed as a woman walked into a girls' locker room unrobed and walked in front of these young women who went to that college. They had a similar law, similar to 279. And this high school gym, or the locker room, was shared by students from a nearby high school and children from a local swimming club. And nothing was done because the officials said that the law was so vague, they really couldn't do anything about it. But the man in question said that he felt as if he was being discriminated against because the school asked him to leave. I'm not talking about what could be or what might be. I'm talking about what has already happened in a community that had a bill similar to 279. Can any of you guarantee that this sort of incident will not happen? I ask you, can you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, and Bill Wallach. That's from Bill?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And then Ellen Alper?
First, I'd like to say that I vehemently oppose all such discrimination. I feel very sorry for the person here tonight who was fired from his job for a reason totally unrelated to job performance. However, I'm speaking tonight to the council to be very careful about adopting language in this ordinance that is overly broad and vague, such that it can be read as authorizing county government to criminalize and punish people for exercising constitutionally protected freedoms, which are the most valuable and important thing in our society. This ordinance seems to criminalize people's thoughts and feelings and motives if they simply do certain harmless acts when they happen to be simultaneously having such quote-unquote bad thoughts and feelings. Specifically, Section 17 and 18 talk about making anonymous phone calls merely with a bad intent against some protected class. Section 18 making repeated phone calls, merely just having at the same time an intent. The right prosecutor could go after somebody for that and have you protected by the First Amendment. It also talks about discharging a firearm into a building. Into a building without any kind of constraints. You really need to rewrite that if you're going to pass it at all to protect the First Amendment. It's the most important thing in our society.
Thank you, Michael. Ellen Alper and then Alan Bovey.
Good evening. My name is Ellen Alper, and I'm the Executive Director of the National Council of Jewish Women's St. Louis Section. NCJW has been active in the St. Louis community, working to safeguard individual rights and freedoms for the last 117 years. We are proud to support Bill 279, and I'm here to speak on behalf of our 1,700 members and supporters who live in St. Louis City and St. Louis County, the majority of whom live in St. Louis County. We've been a long advocate of individual and civil rights, and we stand in support of St. Louis County's efforts to welcome the LGBT community and protect them from discrimination. These are not just words on a page, but a piece of legislation that provides real protections for those who need it and for those we know get discriminated against. In extending these local protections, it is NCJW's belief that we will all recognize the growing importance of protecting all of our friends, our families, and our neighbors from discrimination regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. I'd like to thank the Council for introducing this legislation, especially co-sponsors Dolan and Burkett. We urge your strong support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan Bovey and then Joanne Hendrick.
My name is Alan Bovey, and my wife and I own and run a wedding and reception business in unincorporated St. Louis County called the Leavenworth House Plantation. We produce up to 100 weddings and receptions each year and have become a favorite venue for brides in St. Louis County. In all that we do, we operate as a faith-based business. This proposed Bill 279 seeks to equate the ethical decisions of our faith-based business as one of a hate crime. The problem is, I hate no one. There's absolutely no need for this bill. It proposes a solution for a problem that does not exist. More importantly, this bill that was built on a false premise will assuredly result in a host of unintended negative consequences. St. Louis County will be known as a place unfriendly to people of faith who intend to run businesses here. These businesses will migrate to neighboring counties who realize the value of these citizens and businesses. And undoubtedly, the litigation that has only been threats up to this point will end up in our St. Louis County courts. Most will choose to close a business before they attempt the very expensive cost of defending themselves in court. None of this will be good for St. Louis County. My plea tonight in closing is that Councilman members O'Mara, Irby, Quinn, and Wassinger all vote as they did this last time on a similar bill and vote against its passage. What was bad for St. Louis County 4 or 5 years ago is still bad today. In infringing on religious liberties of people of faith is still contrary to our nation's founding principles. Please vote no on Bill 279.
Thank you, Alan. Bill Henry, can I have Heidi C?
Chairman Mayor, Council, thank you very much. I come out of concern for things that our nation is embracing, and now our state in this county. This country was founded on biblical principles and by God-fearing people, and I believe I'm addressing God-fearing people tonight. I will reiterate, I do not apologize that my statements are based on biblical principles. I don't apologize for that, but I will reiterate all that I had planned to say. I just think we need to be very careful in moving into an arena where the scripture is very clear. We are opening up a door that even angels fear to tread, and we had better be aware of the consequences. Sodom and Gomorrah, a good example. I appreciate that you want to do fair laws for all people, but extremes become special privileges for a few that invoke hardships on the majority. Is it a county when I make these kinds of statements and I'm arrested for hate crime? I haven't even referenced, or it's been referenced as far as San Francisco and what went on. I don't think we want to go there. I appreciate your listening to my comments, and I thank you for your time. I have some statements I'd like to present.
Thank you, Joan. Heidi C. and then Harold Weiss.
My name's Heidi. I'm here to support people that are against this bill. I haven't read it, so I can only go by what I've heard, and I can also tell there's a lot that's not being told. But from what I can say about what has been discussed is there is no place for this kind of law. We don't need another law on top of laws that we already have. Everyone has rights. Everyone has human rights that far exceed any group, or kind, or sexual orientation, male, female, everything. Everybody wants to be their own special group. And we are treading upon ourselves and dividing ourselves more and more. So I think you should just trash the bill. Don't even vote on it. Save it for later if you want. But further division is not going to work.
Thank you, Heidi. Harold Weiss, and then Bill Neilka.
I thank you all for all your time to go through all these things, and really appreciate it. I've been a resident for St. Louis County over 50 years. I won't say exactly how long, but I'm involved in operating a business, several businesses in St. Louis County and in other parts of the nearby states. To me, it comes down to a pretty simple issue of the bill covers civil rights and covers moral issues. I totally agree that civil rights needs to be and is covered, but the sexual orientation and other items there are a matter of a moral issue, and I don't think we can begin to think about legislating on moral issues. I think also as a business operator in the area, there's a lot of pitfalls and things that come with this down the road that from the standpoint that I have as a business operator make it less desirable to operate a business in St. Louis County versus other areas. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Bill. Lloyd Sloan, or that's Harold, I'm sorry, Bill Neilcom, and then Lloyd Sloan.
As a National Federation of Independent Businessmen, I'm concerned about this because what I perceive as the unintended consequences of a large burden on small businesses there. And before you pass this, I would recommend you do a cost analysis to really determine what the impact and what the potential lawsuits involved with this are. And particularly since the senator from the state of Missouri has already stated that it's unconstitutional under state law. The other thing that I have concern with, there seems to be a number of issues grouped into this bill that I think should be separated out, and I'd like you to do some study on that too. There's some firearm issues in there that I'm concerned with. And then closing, I'd like to say that if you're creating all these classes, where does it stop? And if there isn't a conscious exemption in here, then it almost seems like there should be an exemption for Christians, Jews, Muslims, or anybody else who has religious objections to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Lloyd Sloan, and then Greg Jeffrey.
Thank you. My name is Lloyd Sloan, Baldwin. I guess first of all, I admire you guys for your courage on this. Good crowd here tonight, and I do admire the courage. I think I'd admire it even more if it was 3 weeks before an election instead of 3 weeks after an election. I see good points here. I don't want to belittle this too much, but I see a fairness issue, and I'm sympathetic to the people who feel strongly this is about fairness. I also feel very strongly, I see this religious freedom issue, and I'm sympathetic to the people who also feel strongly this religious liberty issue. To me, it's a property rights issue, and I tend to come down on property rights. All my life, I've made one exception for property rights. That's race. And I've always supported race exceptions in property rights. Why? Because of the very bad history of race relations in the United States that everyone is familiar with. I think it deserves that exception. A few other exceptions on bills like this I'd look for. A conscience exception, other people I've mentioned, and also a small business exception. Don't go after the problem's not the little old lady who's renting her apartment. You go after big businesses and maybe that. One last point here, two things. Can anybody on this council tell me if I am a homosexual? You know if I'm a homosexual? Can you tell me if I'm black or white? Do you understand the distinction between these things? If I were a lawyer, I would love you for this bill. Because that's where it's headed. Yeah. Finally, if you insist on this bill, so this is fairness to you, and I appreciate that. I do see that issue. I want to make one more appeal, one last group that needs to be included. Short people. We also get discriminated against, and we are always left out. I'm 5'4", people. I want some protection in this bill if you're going to pass it.
We need a little bit more Lloyd in here tonight. Thank you. Shooting home after Greg.
Yeah, I guess when considering this bill, I got one question, which is which wins, gender or gender identity? Earlier you heard a woman talk about it, but 2 Washington State high school girls swim teams were stripped of their federal Title IX rights by Olympia, Washington school officials after a teen and their parents refused to allow the girls to shower with the middle-aged retired military man calling himself Khalid. The issue was that he had a gender identity while they have gender. They lost their Title IX rights. When you pass this bill, and I'm pretty sure you will, unfortunately, you set up this type of a conflict that will have to be resolved. Who's going to win? The gender or the gender identity? There's a lot of ambiguity in the way this was written that will invite a lot of legal challenges, and courts will have to be brought in to trash this out. But think about it, because what you got here is gender versus gender identity. And here's the article. I'll turn it so y'all can read it.
Thank you, Greg. Judy Bone and Bart Angeli.
Thank you. I've never done anything like this before, but I grew up in Normandy and now live in beautiful downtown Baldwin. And my mom raised me with Christian values. And the only thing I knew was, she said, the Bible has truths. Follow that. My whole life, that's what I have done. Thou shalt not commit adultery. All of those that go in there. Thou shalt honor thy father and thy mother. And I have nothing but love in my heart because I have Jesus there. And all I can say is, I just got a brand new grandbaby last night, and what do I say to that brand new grandbaby that's at Missouri Baptist Hospital? Grandma stood up for the Bible and for truth. And the other little 5-year-old said, go, Grandma, share Jesus.
Thank you. Bart Angeli, and then Linda Boyd Shell.
Executive Dooley, and honorable members of the council, thank you for giving us this opportunity and the patience to listen to me. I was born and raised here in St. Louis, and I was always raised to be kind and respectful of others, even those that I disagree. And I have empathy for those who have suffered discrimination based, for whatever the basis is. It doesn't matter what the discrimination is, the fact that it happens at all for any reason. And I looked through this bill and I heard a lot of things. I oppose this bill, and I'm asking you to oppose it because this puts language out there that really ends up classifying other things, and now all of a sudden we're starting a whole other thing. Why do we have to have any of this at all? We're human beings. It doesn't matter what we're made of, the color of our skin, or anything else. We're human beings. We need to be treated that way, period. But the problem is, in trying to address fairness legally, we end up with laws that end up setting up that disagreement now becomes hate. We're mixing up the words "I disagree with this" with hate. Let's be careful about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bart. Linda Borchell and David Scott.
Thank you, Council, for hearing me. I come before you as a realtor, and I represent a lot of investors who own rental property in St. Louis County. And my concern is for them and their financial impact, that it will cause them without a conscience clause in this. I also have a concern on the section of hate crimes on page 9, 11 through 13 with the firearms, and how that will impact our concealed carry and our self-defense. So I would strongly recommend that you vote no until we have more studies on how it will impact these two sections in this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. David Scott, and then Karen Roasty or something like that.
Hey, praise Jesus. My name is David Scott. I'm with That Bible Will Travel. We pledged at the beginning of this one nation under God. If you ask me, that's God and country right there. God blesses obedience and He curses disobedience. When the righteous stand, a nation will prosper. When the wicked rule, a nation suffers. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people who He has chosen as His heritage. Do we want to walk as His chosen, or do we want to suffer because of disobedience to His word? It's up to you and us to turn this country around. What's it going to be? If you vote yes, there will be consequences to this.
Thank you, David.
Have a great evening.
Karen, and then Amy Allen.
Good evening. My name is Karen Oresti. I'm the Regional Director of the Anti-Defamation League for Missouri and Southern Illinois, and a member of the St. Louis County Human Relations Commission. I stand here very strongly in support of 279, and I want to empower you fully to pass this bill. I think the greatest argument in support of it is the level of bias, bigotry, and outright hatred I have heard tonight against a group that is simply dealing with discrimination, violence, and hate on a daily basis. I think I am more dismayed that bias and bigotry comes in the name of religion, which should not be a sword in this instance. And I'd like to suggest, and I'll just give you my remarks that were previously prepared, that under the Missouri statutes, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which we passed in 2003, would be available to those who feel that they have been religiously aggrieved under this statute. They have lots of rights to exercise them, and they do so all the time. Thanks very much for your support.
Thank you, Karen. Amy Allen. Thank you. And then we have Lauren Irla and Bill Durbin.
I pass. Majority has spoken.
Thank you, Bill. Mark him down for the cookies and candy.
Hi,
I'm Lauren Lyerla. My husband and I have been residents of Maryland Heights for 15 years. I vote in every election, even the little ones. I am very active in my son's school and in my church, Emerson Unitarian Universalist Chapel in Elliston. I have gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender friends, neighbors, fellow congregants, fellow parents, clerks at my grocery store. They are good citizens who vote and pay taxes and pick up after their dogs. And they have no less inherent worth or dignity than I do. You can fire people for not doing their jobs. You can evict them if they don't pay their rent. Those are behaviors, choices. But it is wrong that someone can be fired or evicted because of who they are. Bill 279 is our chance to correct this injustice. Gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender St. Louis County residents are my equals and my peers, and they should be treated as such under the law. I believe that St. Louis County is the kind of place that wants to treat its residents, all its residents, with kindness, fairness, and justice. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your support of Bill 279.
Thank you, Lauren. Nancy Merritt and Jason Bowles.
I just want to say I'm thankful that we still have the freedom to share our opinions in this country, both for or against something. I pray that it is a freedom we continue to have for generations to come. I do not support this bill for various reasons. I am a Christian. I do love all people. But that does not mean that we support or condone everything. I do believe the church has blown it in a big way in acting in an unloving way many times, but that's not the issue here. The issue here is this a class of people that should be protected? And I think the gentleman that was here before who said, can you tell if I'm a homosexual or can you tell if I am black or white, made a very good point. I support his point. I am a mother. I actually wanted to kind of raise a question. If I wanted to rent out my basement, would this bill say that I, as a Christian homeowner, could I have a lawsuit put against me if I said no, I did not want to rent part of my property to someone who was a lesbian or something, the same way I would not want to rent to someone a couple who was unmarried, who I believe were committing adultery. So what is this going to do to the individual person as well? Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Jason Bowles and then Matt Webb.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. I just want to touch base. A few years ago here in Missouri, we passed a bill. It was Amendment 2, Constitutional Amendment 2. Just to read a little bit. Missouri General Assembly submitted to Missouri voters Constitutional Amendment Number 2. Senate Joint Resolution 29 to amend Missouri's Bill of Rights to define marriage in the Missouri Constitution, Article 1, Section 33, that to be valid and recognized in this state, the marriage shall exist only between a man and a woman. Missouri voters that day in August 2004, just over 70% said yes. The only county was the city of St. Louis. That was the only county that failed. 47 yes, 53 no. So to me, that would go against the general students. The constituents of the St. Louis County. So I ask you to vote to consider the recent vote. As has been said, there's already laws that protect people, and so last comment. As Jesus would say, love this sinner, hate this sin. So thank you for your time. Have a great night.
Jason, thank you. Matt Webb and then Kimberly Verbo.
First of all, I want to talk about something a little different. It's section 722.050. It's about the gun laws and whatnot. And it talks about here, no person shall, for discrimination purposes, discharge a firearm within 100 yards of any church, synagogue, or other building, structure, or place used for religious worship or other religious purpose, or within 100 yards of any school, education facility, community center, hospital, or medical clinic owned or operated by a religious or sectarian group. It's okay so far. You shouldn't do that if it's for a discriminative purpose. Fine. It also says, or carry a firearm or other weapon of lethal use into a church. How do you know I'm doing that for a discriminative purpose? When I carry my firearm, it's not because I hate Indians. It's because I want to protect my family. I'm afforded that right, and I should be able to execute that wherever I am. And let me finish this here. Into any church, synagogue, or this is the big part here. Lethal use into any church, synagogue, or other building. That other building means any building that exists. That's what it says. It doesn't just say religious building. It says or other building. That could be a McDonald's. It can be Taco Bell. It could be anything. Structure or place used 100 yards of school. If I walk down the street, if I walk by SLU with my family and I have my gun and I'm within 100 yards, I'm going to jail. That's what it says. Within 100 yards, I'm going to jail. That needs to be gone. That's section 12 and 13. Get it out.
Thank you, Matt. Kimberly Birdwell and Sherry Castle.
Thank you, Executive Julie and County Council. I thank you for the opportunity to just provide words of expression today. I recently heard about this bill through KSIB and St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and I'm just here on behalf of small business owners, particularly in the wedding business, and I just certainly oppose the modification of the anti-discrimination law that we have, just because it, as a Christian, it certainly has the potential to violate our rights of those who want to follow the Word of God. We're certainly having like commitment services or those kinds of things if you're in the photography business. This bill will certainly hinder those who are in small businesses and in the wedding business, where it would hinder our ability to express ourselves and exercise our rights as Christians. So I just wanted to express that. I certainly am in favor of some type of clause that certainly allows Christians to still exercise their faith and exercise their right in the Word of God.
Thank you. Kimberly, Sherry Castle, and then John Bowman. Sherry?
Hi, thank you for providing this opportunity to talk today. A lot of good points have been made tonight, and so I'm not going to reiterate them. But I just ask you all to think. It seems to me that a lot that we need to think about what constitutes a class of people that should be protected. And I don't think that that has really been brought up as does this make sense? I think also that someone had said that if this bill were to be passed, that there would not cause people to violate their religious beliefs, but I disagree with that. That businessmen and women who wouldn't want to. Someone had mentioned, that. Well, I'm not going to repeat it again. I just think it would cause some people to violate their religious beliefs, and I would ask that you would vote no against this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. John Bowman and then Julie Ranos.
Good evening, Executive Julie and council members. Thank you for this opportunity. I am very thankful that we have a representative form of democracy, and all of you are on this council as representatives of your constituents. Tonight, I think overwhelmingly, you are hearing your constituents saying what they want. Please listen to them. I do not want St. Louis County to be a place where anyone is unfairly discriminated against. But in the hope or in the trying to right a perceived wrong, we will create more division within our society. We will create more classes of people that will be unfairly taken advantage of or given special privileges. That is not our way. I would ask you all to vote no on this bill.
Thank you, John. Julie, and then Kathy next.
time because there were a lot of great points made tonight, so I'll just get right to the point. I'm requesting that you would vote no on 279, and I want to summarize by saying that we cannot legislate morality. We cannot legislate whether a person is treated with dignity or with respect. If the goal is to treat all people with dignity and respect, then we would be better served if we reinstated the Ten Commandments and placed them in every public place, including public schools. The Ten Commandments can be summarized into two things: love God, love others. Thank you, and please vote no on 279, and I have a handout for you.
Thank you, Julie. Kathy next, and then Mark Fincher.
Thank you very much for hearing me tonight. I am Master Sergeant Kathy Nix, 33 years United States Air Force. I also have a wedding business, and I will help people of all backgrounds. I don't discriminate. I was born a lesbian. I am not a sex offender. I am a Christian. I did not choose, nor would I ever choose, to be discriminated against. It's not about religion or what you think it says in the Bible. God made me this way. When did you make the choice to be straight? Have you ever been told not to talk about your partner? Please vote for 279.
Thank you, Kathy. Mark Fincher, and then Yvette next.
Hello, folks, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Mark Fincher. I'm also with Have Bible Will Travel. My issue is I do not support this. I think we should be voted down. My real concern is in the section that the other gentleman referred to about where you can carry a firearm. I perform religious services in my home with my family. Does that constitute I would be unable to carry a firearm into my own home? And this is an issue that I have concerns with because we have not clearly defined where a religious building practice service is. My church performs a Bible study at the St. Louis Bread Company. Is that a place of religious service if we can no longer carry a firearm and then our Second Amendment is being infringed on? It is up to a business and it's up to the laws of the land as they stand under the Second Amendment. We're not to have our rights to be infringed to bear an arm. And by the way this law is written right or proposed right now, it's a direct conflict of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Yvette, and then Robert Powers.
Thank you very much for letting me speak. I'm very nervous right now. My heart is pounding in my throat. So, I actually called, now I'm like paranoid about looking at anybody individually. I'm not trying to be a threat to anyone. I called Pat Dolan's office today, and I was able to speak with his administrative assistant, who was extremely polite and patient with me because he sent me a copy of the bill, and so I read it thoroughly, and then I called him back because every time I read another section, I had more questions. So I started to pose these questions to him, and some of the things that have come up today, he was unable to answer. And I think that you all, it sounds like a lot of people feel you're already in past this bill, but I'm hoping that you're going to think about this because there is constitutionality involved in here. There's morality, there's small business, but he kept telling me repeatedly, saying that this was about county contractors and just, public. So finally I nailed him down and I said, what do you mean by that? I'm not a lawyer. And so he read to me and he basically said, any business that offers any type of public service then is under this clause. So if you are a faith-based business, this absolutely will violate your religious rights. And I don't see how you can reconcile the religious rights of people with the problem of the civil rights without putting in some sort of a conscious clause. And the only reason I came up here to speak is because I did talk with Pat Dolan's office. And also I asked about the possibility of, let's say somebody, you have a preschool organization and somebody decides that they are in the wrong gender, and so they want to cross-dress, and then you say, well, this is not something, and I asked him, I said, well, what would you do in that instance? And there was absolute silence, and then he said, well, that would never come up. So the issue is, we need to know what you're passing.
Thank you. Robert Mars and Daniel Spring.
Executive Julian and council members, you're speaking graduated listening to the citizens of St. Louis County, and we all appreciate what you're doing. My name is Robert Powers, and I'm a retired businessman, 42 years. I've managed a company with 350 employees in it, and I believe that diversity is an important part of any work environment, and that it's a strength. I will say to you as an employer, though, the way that this bill is written, 279, it is a horror story for business. There are no standards for the definitions that are given for gender identity and sexual orientation. It's more up to the individual. There are no standards for the employer to follow, and therefore there are going to be a lot of lawsuits. There are going to be a lot of challenges. I think there's a better way to deal with fairness in the workplace and preventing discrimination in the workplace, but passing a bill like this, a law like this, which is very difficult for an employer to implement, and I've been in business 40 years, is not the way to go ahead. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Robert. Daniel Spring, and then Karen Flatner.
Good evening. I'm a heterosexual, and I love God Almighty. I want you to support this bill. Years ago, in the halls of Congress, they pounded Bibles to support slavery. They pounded Bibles to suppress women's votes, suppress the votes of blacks. And I asked the council to vote to be on the side of history, because it's over. And everybody talks about sexual orientation being a choice, and I have really a clear common sense test. I'm a heterosexual. I can't choose to be homosexual, but I challenge you out there who think that you can choose. Just choose for one day to be homosexual. Just try it, okay? I submit that you probably can't do it, because it's not a choice. That's all.
Thank you, Daniel. Karen Flatner and then Ed Joel.
Hi, my name is Karen Flatner. I'm a lifelong resident of St. Louis County. I am a psychiatric social worker, a contributing member of society. I pay my taxes. I own property. I want to thank the gentleman that was just speaking before me because I am a lesbian, and it's not a choice. I am offended by many of the insults that have come out this evening about being gay is a behavior. This is about who I am, who I love, and I just want to have the same protections as anybody else without regard to religious beliefs or anything else. I happen to be a Jew. I don't think it's my right to impose my religious beliefs on others, and I don't believe others have the right to impose their religious beliefs on me. I just want to know that I am protected as a lesbian to live where I want to live, to participate in society, and not harm anybody else. People have often talked about the morality of the issue. Is it moral to say somebody doesn't deserve rights and protections because they happen to be different than somebody else? I don't believe so. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Ed?
We've already given the ladies the written portion. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I stand on 2 points tonight. Again, I beseech thee that an accurate accounting in the journal. These people went to a lot of time. It needs to be in the journal. Point 2, the federal government went to a lot of trouble to pass regulations dealing with
whatever issue you want to deal with. You can't just ignore the federal government. Missouri legislation also went into great pains to have 21-750 that forbids any mention of firearm control by a county. Each of you received a message from me. Not one of you replied. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Now you can applaud after the last speaker. Well behaved. I really appreciate your attendance and everybody wants to make a comment and have their own personal views and we respect them here at the council. So this time we move on to our introduction of bills.
Bill number 300, introduced by Councilmember Stanger, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to grant subterranean easement and temporary special construction licenses at 8765 Oakland Avenue and 8901 South Broadway Avenue for construction and maintenance of facilities necessary to eliminate pump station number 1 within the first major recreation project at the Metropolitan Center Sewer District, authorizing the county executive to execute related deeds and documents. Bill number 301, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance amending chapter 201, title 2 7 by ordinance 1974, amended personnel planning by repealing and enacting section 201, 201.05, 085, 201.090, 201.180, and 201.190 pertaining to compensation of various and amending chapter 202, title 2 county license 1974, amended personnel classified service by repealing and reenacting section 202.360, repealing section 202.361, repealing and reenacting section 202.365 and 202.366 pertaining to compensation for various taxes of county employees. Bill number 302, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with A&M Communications LLC for development and implementation of the national training program for county senior management employees. Bill number 303, introduced by Councilmember Stanger, an ordinance authorizing St. Louis County, Missouri to issue a taxable industrial revenue bond, Mechanical Dynamics Analysis Limited Project, Series 2012, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $35,900,000 for the purpose of providing funds to pay the cost of acquiring, constructing, equipping, and improving a utility for industrial development projects in the county, approving the plan for the project, and authorizing the county executive to enter into certain agreements and take certain other actions in connection with the issuance of the bond. Bill number 304, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance amending chapter 105, title 1, St. Louis County Revised Ordinance 1974 as amended county municipal court by repealing and reenacting section 105.040 pertaining to county municipal budget. Bill number 305, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance establishing tax rates to be levied on all real and tangible personal property in St. Louis County and on all other taxable property in St. Louis County for the General Revenue Fund, Special Road and Bridge Fund, Health Fund, Park Maintenance Fund, and the Debt Service Fund for the fiscal year 2013. The tax rates hereby established will be permanent and will continue in effect until superseded by the tax levy ordinance passed at such time as provided by law. Bill number 306, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the General Revenue Fund for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the General Revenue Fund the sum of $246,012,641 to be placed to the credit of the respective departments, offices, boards, commissions, agencies, and funds in the St. Louis County government as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 307, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance appropriating and adopting the budget for the Special Road and Bridge Fund for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Special Road and Bridge Fund the sum of $15,296,762 to be placed to the credit of the county road system and further appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Special Road and Bridge Fund the sum of $28,242,963 to be placed to the credit of the Arterial Road System and further appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Special Road and Bridge Fund the sum of $6,129,340 to be placed to the credit of the Department of Highways and Traffic and General Operations, all as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 308, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the Health Fund for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Health Fund the sum of $57,390,903 to be placed to the credit of the Department of Health provided for in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill Bill number 309, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving or adopting the budget for the park maintenance fund for fiscal year 2018, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated funds for park maintenance fund, $22,945,211, and placed in the budget of the Department of Parks and Recreation, and provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 310, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Spirit of St. Louis Airport Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Spirit of St. Louis Airport Enterprise Fund, sum of $30,954,255, to be placed to the credit of the accounts provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 311, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the debt service fund, the sum of $13,765,625 for payment of interest and maturity retirement of the public improvement bonds of St. Louis County, Missouri for the fiscal year 2013. Bill number 312, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Highway Capital Construction Program budget for fiscal year 2013 in the amount of $19,486,000, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Transportation Highway Fund the sum of $10,200,000, and further appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of Federal Aid Urban Trust Fund the sum of $9,286,000 to support the 2013 capital improvement program. Bill number 313, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the assessment fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the assessment fund the sum of $12,697,000, $12,697,802 to be placed to the credit of the accounts provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 314, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the sewer lateral fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the sewer lateral fund the sum of $3,165,774 to be placed to the credit of the council as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 315, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Transportation Trust Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Transportation Trust Fund the sum of $23,150 to be credited to the accounts provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 316, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance appropriating the unappropriated balance of the Public Master Transit Tax Fund for public transportation purposes, 100% net tip transfers out to the amount received by St. Louis County from January 1, 2013 to December 31st, 2013, from the sales tax levy by ordinance number 17,035, providing for dispersing the same to Metro. Bill number 317, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Lambert East Perimeter TIP Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, and appropriating and setting apart the sum of $3,075,850 from the unappropriated balance of the Lambert East Perimeter TIP Fund to be credited to the account as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 318, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Police Air Support Program budget for fiscal year 2013, and appropriating and setting apart the sum of $250,000 from the unappropriated balance of the Police Air Support Program Fund to be credited to the accounts provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 319, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Emergency Communications Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Emergency Communications Fund the sum of $13,793,614 to be credited to the account as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 320, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the North Point Forest Subdivision Mid-Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart the sum of $35,589 from the unappropriated balance in the North Point Forest Subdivision Mid-Fund to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 321, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Residential Energy Loan Program Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart the sum of $1,163,298 in the unappropriated balance of the Residential Energy Loan Program Fund to be credited to the accounts provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013.
Bill number 322, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Children's Service Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Children's Service Fund the sum of $41,541,807 to be credited to the account provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 323, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting Ethel Queenie Grant Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart the sum of $142,630 in unappropriated balance to the Convention and Recreation Trust Fund to be credited to the account provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 324, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Cable TV Government Access Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart the sum of $44,750 in unappropriated balance of the Cable TV Government Access Fund to be credited to the accounts provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 325, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Convention and Recreation Trust Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart the sum of $7,986,170 from the unappropriated balance of the Convention and Recreation Trust Fund to be credited to the accounts provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 326, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Water Service Line Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Water Service Line Fund the sum of $3,682,436 to be placed to the credit of the accounts provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 327, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance approving and adopting the Solid Waste Management Fund budget for fiscal year 2013, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Solid Waste Management Fund the sum of $1,413,000 to be credited to the accounts provided in the budget for fiscal year 2013. Bill number 328, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to accept a grant of up to $320,103 from the St. Louis County Children's Service Fund, appropriating the same for the operation of St. Louis County Youth Resource Center, and authorizing the county executive to execute necessary documents. Chair, that is all the bill.
All right.
Can you read it off?
Okay, we'll move on to perfection of bills.
Mr. Chair, do you want to make a motion to suspend the rules on Bill 328?
Yes, I do. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to advance bill number 328 to its perfection, or the, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, what was that? 328, it's a grant for the Children's Youth Fund. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Can we get bill for perfection?
Yes, please, bill number 328.
Bill number 328, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
This time I'd like to take it up and move for perfection bill number 328.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Take it up and move for perfection bill number 281.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Bill number 281 is perfected.
Bill number 282, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
I'd like to take it up and move for perfection bill number 282.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Bill number 282 is perfected.
Bill number 283, introduced by Councilmember Quinn.
I'd like to take it up. I move perfection of bill number 283.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Bill number 283 is perfected.
Bill number 284, introduced by Councilmember Quinn.
I'd like to take it up. I move perfection of bill number 284.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Bill number 284 is perfected.
Bill number 285, introduced by Councilmember
Take
O'Meara.
it up and move for perfection bill number 285.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Bill number 285 is perfected.
Bill number 286, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
Take it up and move for perfection bill number 286.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Bill number 286 is perfected.
Bill number 287, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
I move to make bill number 287.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Bill number 287 is perfected.
Bill number 288, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
Take it up and move for perfection bill number 288.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Bill number 288 is perfected.
Bill number 289, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
Take take it up, move for inspection bill number 289.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Abstain.
Ayes have, motion carries, bill number 289 is perfected.
Bill number 290, introduced by Councilmember Stanger.
I move for perfection of bill number 290.
That was bill 289, not 279.
Okay.
279 is on the final passage, it's the next one.
Speak so we can hear you.
Well, like my wife, she can't understand a lot of times too, so. Where are we at? Bill number 290.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Bill number 290 is perfected.
Bill number 291, introduced by Councilmember Wassinger. I move for perfection of bill number 291.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Bill number 291 is perfected.
Bill number 292, introduced by Councilmember Stanger.
Please hold.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, what was the number? Bill number?
292.
Bill number 293, introduced by Councilmember Stanger.
Please hold in the order of business.
So ordered.
Bill number 294, introduced by Councilmember Stanger.
I move for perfection of bill number 294.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Bill number 294 is perfected.
Bill number 295, introduced by Councilmember Stanger.
I move for perfection of bill number 295.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Bill number 295 is perfected.
Bill number 296, introduced by Councilmember Stanger.
Please hold.
So ordered.
Bill number 297, introduced by Councilmember Romero.
Let's take it up, move for perfection. Bill number 297.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Bill number 297 is perfected.
Bill number 298, introduced by Councilmember Wassinger. Hold on the order of business, please.
Sure.
Bill number 299, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
I move for perfection of bill number 299. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Bill number 299 is perfected. Final passage of bills. At this time, move to suspend the rules to advance bill number 328 to the final order of business.
Second.
328.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. 328 is the final order of business. Please read it.
Bill number 328, introduced by Councilmember Romero.
This time, I'd like to take it up and move to the final passage, bill number 328.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Erby. Aye. Councilmember Burkett.
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger. Aye. Councilmember Romero.
Aye.
Councilmember Dolan.
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger.
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 328, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 328 is finally passed.
Bill number 275, introduced by Councilmember Romero.
I'd like to take it up and move to final passage, bill number 275.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Erby. Aye. Councilmember Burkett.
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger. Aye. Councilmember Romero.
Aye.
Councilmember Dolan.
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger.
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 275, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 275 is finally passed.
Bill number 276, introduced by Councilmember Romero.
I'd like to take it up and move to final passage, bill number 276.
Second.
Roll call, please. Hold on. 276. There's been a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Erby. Aye. Councilmember Burkett.
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger.
Aye.
Councilmember Romero.
Aye.
Councilmember Dolan.
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger.
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 276, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 276 is finally passed.
Bill number 277, introduced by Councilmember Wassinger.
I move for final passage of bill number 277.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Erby.
Aye.
Councilmember Burkett.
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger.
Aye.
Councilmember Romero.
Aye.
Councilmember Dolan.
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger.
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 277, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 277 is finally passed.
Bill number 278, introduced by Councilmember Romero.
Let's take it up to the final passage, bill number 278.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Erby. Aye. Councilmember Burkett.
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger.
Aye.
Councilmember Romero.
Aye.
Councilmember Dolan.
Aye.
Councilmember Stanger.
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 278, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 278 is finally passed.
Bill number 279, introduced by Councilmembers Dolan and Burkett.
I move for final passage of bill number 279.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Erby.
Debate.
Before I vote, I'd like to make it very clear that I do not condone discrimination of any kind. I believe that everyone should receive equal treatment when it comes to employment, promotion, housing, whatever, regardless of who they are or what their beliefs are. I also respect the opinions and rights of those who are not in agreement with this proposed ordinance because of their religious beliefs. In addition, I believe that our current laws protect all of us. I have concerns regarding the language as well as the possible consequences of this ordinance. Therefore, I vote no.
Yes. Let's finish.
Before I vote, there's a few things that I'd like to make straight. One of them being, someone made mention of the fact that we are bringing this bill forward after our reelection efforts. And I would like to point out that I was supportive of this bill and a co-sponsor of this bill in 2007 and ran for reelection in 2008 and again in 2012 and got reelected. So I will stand for this bill any time, whether it is an election time or not. Another thing that was made mention of, what we are achieving hopefully tonight is to amend an already existing hate crime ordinance that has been in effect. I believe, County Executive, you were on the council when it was passed, and that was, what, the early 90s?
That was the bill that I sponsored.
And the bill that you sponsored. So that bill has been in effect. What pertains to the guns you have been living with for 20 years. That has not changed and will not change anything in this current ordinance. Another thing, this applies to the unincorporated area of St. Louis County, and I think there was a minister here from Webster Groves Church, and I'm assuming it's in the city of Webster Groves, I'm not sure, but I am assuming it is. So you really fall under the laws of the city of Webster Groves. Having said that, though, there are municipalities in St. Louis County that have already passed this bill. St. Louis City has been in effect for many, many years. University City, Olivet, Clayton, Richmond Heights, Creve Coeur, Ferguson, Maplewood, and the city of Kirkwood is pending right now. So there are already municipalities within St. Louis County that have this ordinance in effect. I'm not usually without words. I'm pretty much someone who speaks their mind and speaks what she feels. But I'll tell you what, tonight I have been so upset by the comments, and you talk about love, and yet I hear all of this intolerance and bigotry. That is not the God of my understanding. I grew up in a home where love and tolerance were taught to me, and I am ever, ever so grateful that it was. And I hope, yes.
Let her finish.
Councilmember Wassner? Yes, thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and taking the time to speak on behalf of this bill. I think we can all agree in this room that discrimination is a terrible thing, and if anybody has suffered it and endured what it's like to go through that, it's a terrible experience. I believe that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, respect, and kindness, including those in the LGBTQ community, poor people, homeless people, obese people, short people were mentioned tonight. There are any number of classes of people that are probably discriminated against. But where do we draw the line? Creating special protected classes of people at this level of government will have unintended consequences. And those consequences may, in fact, violate certain constitutional rights of others. And it's for these reasons that I vote no.
Ma'am,
that wasn't an insult. I do mumble, and my wife is very, so if you took it that I was,
I didn't say anything.
okay. I heard a couple groans out there, and it wasn't an insult. I do mumble at home, and can't, you know.
Always listen to your wife.
No, 28 years I've been doing it. So, just a couple points. I got about a 4.5 hour drive after this, and I could have easily just bailed out and not shown up, and it would have been easy to say I'm out of town on business, but this has been an issue for quite some years, and I am a Catholic faith, you know, mother, father, wife, and 2 children, uncle over 30 times, a great uncle over 6, and I can't name about half of them. I don't know who's who and who's been born lately and all that other stuff. But they tell me when to show up for the birthdays and this and that. So I am of a good Catholic faith, and I have talked to our faith-based people in my organization and family members, and there are some areas that I have some heartburn with, but I'm strictly voting on this bill. I say this a cop-out or whatever you want to say. I'm strictly voting on this bill as a discriminatory bill. All right? I have my faith beliefs, which are separate from this, but as a discriminatory bill, I am voting for. Please. All right? This is not easy. I've spoken with many council members over this. It's not an easy decision. So, as a discriminatory bill, I'm voting just for that. So, that's my...
Any more outbursts, then you need to leave. Please, let's get through this tonight. Let us finish.
I'd like to make a couple comments. First, I want to thank my fellow council members. I know this hasn't been easy. I respect your decisions, whichever way you vote. I always have in the past, I always will. And I want to thank all your assistants and my assistant. Obviously, when there's a bill of this magnitude, there's a lot of correspondence. They handle that all day long, so thank all of you. You do a great job on all year, not just on this, but I want to thank you for that. There's mentioned tonight about voting and what have you. When I decided to sponsor this bill, the 5th District is a very diverse district, and although we vote on things for all of St. Louis County, I do represent the 5th District. That's the people who hired me. And there are a lot of them are here. Obviously, not everybody from every district is here. But a lot of those people, 4 or 5 of these municipalities that have already accepted this legislation are in the 5th District, so they've spoken to me and they're in favor of this. I'm in favor of this because I don't think anybody in St. Louis County, I don't think there's a better place to raise a family or grow or have a business. Anybody of any race, creed, color, sexual orientation, whatever, should be discriminated against. That's why I sponsored this bill. It's a discrimination bill. I'm not telling you how to run your business, how to live your lives. I appreciate everybody's opinions tonight. And that's how I listened to you. I heard your opinions. You're entitled to your opinions. Everybody, both sides. I'm entitled to mine. I expect the same respect, because I never said a word when anybody was talking tonight. And that's what this is all about. This is democracy. We all have freedom of speech. We can agree, disagree. This is a public forum. That's what this is for. And with all that in mind, I don't believe anybody should be discriminated against. That's why I sponsored this. That's my voting yes.
My vote stands for the proposition that employment, housing, and public accommodations decisions should be based on a person's qualifications, not sexual orientation or gender identity. I believe that history shows us that inclusive communities are successful communities, and these are communities where all citizens can share in economic opportunities and where all citizens have the opportunity to reciprocate. I vote yes.
I've long been a proponent of limited government. The government is often criticized for trying to legislate morality. In this case, the government is telling people that hold certain religious beliefs that their morality, which arises from their religious principles, must now become the government's morality, or else they will be guilty of a crime. I don't agree with every religious view expressed here tonight, but that really doesn't matter. In this country, we have a strong tradition of religious freedom. We actually have constitutional protection for the free exercise of religion. This ordinance conflicts with the free exercise of religion, and therefore I think it oversteps the legitimate bounds of government. Our citizens should not be forced to make decisions that violate their religious principles. There should at least be, in this ordinance, an exemption for people who are morally opposed because of religious beliefs or because of matters of conscience. And I vote no.
Let them finish. There are 4 ayes and 3 noes.
We only got a couple more things, so if we can finalize this bill and then read a couple other things so everybody's not filing out vote. It's only going to be a couple more minutes, so please, if you don't mind. Bill number 279 is finally passed.
Resolution number 1, introduced by Councilmember O'Meara.
Move to adopt resolution number 1.
Second.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congrats. Thank you. Aye. You guys are